A few videos back I mentioned that on Japanese releases of Elvis Is Back there was a problem with the song Soldier Boy, in that the piano introduction was cut off like this.
Soldier
So I thought it would be a good idea to explain when this problem arose and try to find out when or even if it was rectified, because as I'm sure you can imagine, Elvis Is Back was released many times in Japan, not only on LP but of course on CD. Just before we look into that though, just a couple of things about the song itself, Soldier Boy. It was originally released in 1955 by a doo-wop group called Four Fellows, and in fact it was a couple of guys in the band who wrote it. Elvis's arrangement is very similar to the Four Fellows version, and I'll play a little bit in the background, talk a little bit, talk over it, so I don't get a copyright strike. But I think you'll get a feel for it just if you hear it in the background. And it was a big R&B hit in 1955. Elvis first recorded it privately in Germany in 1958. Did a couple of takes. You can hear those takes on the MRS CD made in Germany. It's getting quite difficult to find that set now. And there's also one take on the old box set, Elvis, A Golden Celebration. Now, when Elvis got out of the army in March 1960, he didn't hang around, he got into the studio shortly after he got home. And in fact, the second song that he recorded was Soldier Boy, right after Make Me Know It. And it took him and the band 15 takes to get it right. And you can hear all those takes on the Elvis Is Back sessions on FTD. It's quite interesting listening to those takes because somewhere in the middle, around about takes 8, 9, and 10, they started messing around with the tempo, playing it a lot faster. But although the piano player is kind of trying to drag Elvis along, if you listen to Elvis's vocal, you can just tell that it's too fast for him. He doesn't want to go at that tempo, and they ended up slowing it down again. So yeah, if you listen to the middle takes, sort of 8, 9, 10, very different to the first and the last takes. Another interesting thing about that song, Soldier Boy, is the bass. You can hear the electric bass quite clearly on Elvis's version. That was actually played by Hank Garland, who you would expect to be on the lead guitar. Right, so let's take a look at some Japanese releases. The first one was the mono version, which came out in July 1960. And that one actually does have the correct piano introduction on it. In other words, there's no problem with the version of Soldier Boy. And it wasn't until October 1960, when the stereo version came out, that the problem started. Now, it just so happens that I've got a copy of the stereo version here. This is a really, really rare Elvis album. Surprising, you would think, but well, you would think it would be more common, but in fact it's not. Yeah, this is the first stereo version of Elvis Is Back. And if you look closely in the top corner there, you can see it says for Elvis's 90 million fans. So somehow Elvis gained 40 million new fans in between the release of the Gold Records Volume 2 album and this album. That's the back cover. It's more or less identical to the mono version. This was a bit more expensive than the mono version as well. In fact, this is 2,000 yen. And there's one more thing about this album which is unique. At that point in early 1960, well, late 1960 I should say, Victor was using these gold labels for their stereo records. This is actually the only Elvis Japanese record with this particular label design. Where are we? We're on side 2. Okay, so if you can make it out, I'm not sure, but you can see the first song on side 2 is actually Make Me Know It. And if we go back to side 1, you'll see that Such a Night is the first song and Soldier Boy is the second song. That was also the same with the first mono pressing as well, by the way. But like I said, on this version here, the problem with Such a Night had crept with Soldier Boy had crept in. So somewhere between July and October 1960, the problem arose. It must have been a problem with the master tape, I guess, because it continued. Then in 1963, January 63, the album was reissued with a new title, Such a Night. And I've shown this before, so I won't linger on it too long. But the army pictures have gone. The song, the running order is still the same, with Such a Night on the beginning of side 1, followed by Soldier Boy. And unfortunately, the problem with the piano still persists. They also released a mono version in July '63. You can easily identify the mono version because it doesn't say living stereo at the top there. That one is the same. It's still got the problem with the piano. Then, getting into the RCA era, we've got this orange label version. You can see it's on RCA. It's still got the same cover design. This particular copy here is from 1971. You can see it's actually got Make Me Know It on side 1. There is another version of this LP, same catalogue number, but still got Such a Night and Soldier Boy on side 1. But if you turn to side 2, you can see that Such a Night is still before Soldier Boy, and unfortunately the piano intro is still not there. Then finally in '73 they released a version with the same front and back cover as the American version. This is the 1977 version, which also has the same front and back cover as the American. However, it's not a gatefold. This one, I think I'm right in saying this one actually has the correct running order now. Yeah, there we go. Soldier Boy is the first song on side 2. And that was the same in '73 as well. However, you still don't get the piano at the beginning of Soldier Boy. So then we get into the CD era. And the first Japanese CD is this one here, which came out in July 1988. It's got the correct running order, but guess what? Still doesn't have any piano at the beginning of Soldier Boy. Then it was reissued in 1991 as part of the Elvis in the 90s series. Now this CD has exactly the same matrix number as the first one, so not surprisingly it sounds the same, and so still no piano. Then in 1992 we got the final ever Japanese pressing of Elvis Is Back on vinyl, and it was the first and only time it was released in a gatefold sleeve. It was to commemorate 15 years since Elvis died. And finally the piano was back on Soldier Boy. I've got one more CD to show you. This is from 2000. This is the mini LP version. And this one also has the piano at the beginning of Soldier Boy. There are a couple of other Japanese CDs which I can recall. One is from 1999, which was the expanded version, and then there was the Legacy edition as well. Presumably they also have the piano at the beginning of Soldier Boy. So in summary, if you want a Japanese copy with the Soldier Boy with the piano introduction, you need to get the original mono pressing, the 1992 vinyl edition, or a recent CD pressing. All the other ones have the problem at the beginning. As I say, I can only imagine that there was a problem with the tape and they didn't bother to get another one from RCA in America until the 1990s. Right, I think that'll do it for this one. Any questions or comments, as ever, please let me know. But see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.